For centuries, science has operated under a simple assumption. The brain produces consciousness, much like the liver produces bile. This idea, rooted in Cartesian dualism and later hardened by 19th-century materialism, became the bedrock of modern neurology. If you damage the brain, you damage the mind, so goes the logic. And indeed, strokes, tumors, and trauma can alter personality and memory. But this paradigm has a dark side. It dismisses any experience that doesn't fit neatly into neural firing as hallucination or delusion. Yet, as we'll see, the evidence is piling up that this view is incomplete. Think of it like a radio. If you smash the radio, the music stops, but that doesn't mean the broadcast didn't exist. The brain might not be the source of consciousness, but rather a receiver. This shift in perspective is not just philosophical. It opens the door to phenomena like astral projection, which we'll explore next. The most powerful challenge to brain-only consciousness comes from near-death experiences, or NDE. In these cases, patients report floating above their own bodies, watching doctors and nurses work on them. Skeptics often dismiss these as dying brain hallucinations, but there's a catch. Some of these reports include details that are verifiable. Take Dr. Sam Parnia's AWARE study, where researchers placed hidden images on shelves above hospital beds. A handful of cardiac arrest survivors accurately described those images they couldn't have seen from their body's position. Their brains were clinically flat, yet they perceived with clarity. This is what we call a veridical OBE, meaning it corresponds to objective reality. It's not just a dream, it's a window into a consciousness that operates independently of the physical brain. If this holds up, it could redefine what we know about life and death itself. How could a brain with no activity perceive anything? That's where quantum physics comes in. In the 1990s, physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff proposed the Orch-OR theory. They suggested that consciousness arises from quantum vibrations in microtubules, tiny protein structures inside neurons. These vibrations, they argue, connect to the fundamental fabric of spacetime, making consciousness a basic feature of the universe, not just the brain. This idea was once ridiculed, but recent discoveries of quantum effects in biological systems, like bird navigation and photosynthesis, have given it new life. If the brain is a quantum computer, it might be able to tap into non-local information. Think of it as a Wi-Fi receiver. The brain picks up a signal that exists everywhere. This could explain how an NDE survivor could see from above. Their consciousness was simply tuned into a wider field. Astral projection and lucid dreaming are often lumped together, and for good reason. Lucid dreaming, where you become aware you're dreaming, offers a safe, repeatable way to explore non-physical awareness. At the Max Planck Institute, researchers have trained lucid dreamers to signal their consciousness using eye movements. They've even communicated with them in real time, asking simple math questions. This proves that a self-aware mind can exist without input from the waking senses. For the would-be astral projector, this is the perfect training ground. If you can learn to stay conscious in a dream, you can learn to project your awareness beyond the body. The skills are the same: maintaining alertness, controlling attention, and letting go of physical identity. Lucid dreaming isn't just fun, it's a gateway to understanding the true nature of consciousness. If the brain doesn't produce consciousness, what does it do? Enter the filter theory, championed by philosopher Henri Bergson and later by NDE researcher Raymond Moody. Imagine consciousness as a vast ocean and the brain as a faucet. The faucet doesn't create the water, it simply limits and directs the flow. Brain damage, then, doesn't destroy consciousness, it just damages the faucet, causing leaks or blockages. This explains the baffling phenomenon of terminal lucidity, where Alzheimer's patients suddenly become clear and coherent just before death. As the brain fails, the filter weakens and pure consciousness shines through. It also explains the hyperlucidity of NDEs, where people with mental impairments report crystal-clear awareness. This model is poetic and practical. It suggests that death isn't the end, but a release from a limiting mechanism. For those seeking astral projection, it means the brain is not a cage, it's a door. So how can you experience this for yourself? The answer lies in practices that quiet the brain's filter. Meditation, for instance, has been shown to alter brain wave patterns, reducing the dominance of the default mode network, the area associated with self-referential thought. This quieting may allow the receiver to pick up more signal. Astral projection techniques, like the famous rope method or phasing, often involve deep relaxation and visualization. The key is to maintain awareness while the body falls asleep, creating a state called hypnagogia. In this state, the boundary between waking and dreaming blurs, and some report floating sensations. It's not about leaving the body, it's about expanding awareness beyond it. With practice, you might just catch a glimpse of the wider consciousness field. But remember, it's not about escaping reality. It's about discovering a deeper one. What does all this mean for our understanding of existence? If consciousness isn't confined to the brain, then death is not the end. It's a transition. This idea has profound implications for how we live. It suggests that every mind is connected, perhaps through quantum entanglement or a shared field of awareness. It also challenges the materialist worldview that has dominated science, opening the door to a more spiritual yet evidence-based understanding of reality. For the astral projector, this is empowering. You're not just having a bizarre experience, you're tapping into a fundamental truth. As we continue to study NDEs, lucid dreams, and quantum biology, we're moving closer to a synthesis of science and spirituality. The journey is just beginning. So, are you ready to explore the vast landscape of consciousness? The evidence says you're not just a brain in a vat, you're a wave in an ocean of mind.